Lesson 5, fractional parts. Let's review a little bit about fractions. Fractional parts, there are two parts of a fraction. There is the numerator, the top number, which tells you the part of the total. And then you have the bottom number, the denominator, which tells you the total number of pieces there are. And with a fraction, you have a fraction bar here. So here's your numerator, here's your denominator. And if we look at the picture down below, we have 5 total boxes. 3 of them are shaded in. So the part is 3 out of the total 5. So that's how you get 3/5. Let's look at it in a word problem format. There were 30 questions on the test. 1/3 of the questions were true, false, and 2/5 were multiple choice. How many questions were true, false? So there are a total of 30 questions. And out of those 30 questions, 1/3 was true, false. So I can multiply that by 1/3. And I know it's multiplication because it says 1/3 of. Remember in math is multiplication. So 30 times 1/3, I can simplify here. I can divide a 3 here and get 1 divided 3 out of 30 and get 10. 10 times 1 gives me 10. So there were 10 questions that were true, false. You could have also done 30 times 1, which is 30, divided by 3. You still get 10 questions. How many questions were multiple choice? Well, if 2/5 were multiple choice, so 2/5 of the 30 questions were multiple choice. I can simplify here. I can divide a 5 in the denominator, divide a 5 in the numerator over here, so 30 divided by 5 is 6, and multiply straight across. 2 times 6 would give me 12. So we would have 12 multiple choice questions. Next question. Arrange these fractions from least to greatest. So we have these 3 fractions, 3/6, 3/5, and 3/8. And down below we have a picture. So I'm going to put the fraction above each of them. So this one is 3/6, this one is 3/5, and the third picture is showing 3/8. So if I'm going to show them from least to greatest, I look at the shaded parts. Which is the smallest shaded part? That would be 3/8. So 3/8 would be the smallest. Then the next smallest would be 3/6 because that's half of the circle. So 3/6. That means the biggest piece is the 3/5 because it's more than half. So 3/5 is the greatest fraction that we have there. Problem 3. Compare 2/3 of an hour and 3/5 of an hour. Explain why your answer is reasonable. So 2/3 I know is greater than 3/5. And how do I know that? If I were to get common denominators, the common denominator of 3 and 5 is 15. So if I multiply this 3 by 5, I get 15 in the denominator. Whatever I do in the denominator, must also do in the numerator. 2 times 5 would give me 10. This other fraction, I need to multiply the denominator by 3 to get 15 in the denominator. Whatever I do in the denominator, I must also do in the numerator. 3 times 3 is 9. 10/15 is greater than 9/15. So 2/3 of an hour is greater than 3/5 of an hour. Some more practice problems. How many minutes is 1/6 of an hour? So they're asking in minutes. So we need to know how many minutes are in an hour. There are 60 minutes in 1 hour. So 1/6 of times 60 minutes. So 1/6 times 60 is 60 over 6. And I can divide 60 divided by 6 gives me a total of 10 minutes. So 10 minutes is 1/6 of an hour. Problem B, 3/5 of the questions on the test were multiple choice. How many multiple choice questions were there? Explain why your answer is reasonable. So 3/5 of 30 is multiple choice. So I can simplify here, or I could just go multiply straight across. 3 times 30 is 90. 5 times 1 is 5. 90 divided by 5. I can divide a 5 in the numerator, divide a 5 in the denominator. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 5 goes into 9 one time. 9 minus 5 is 4. Bring down 0. 5 goes into 40 8 times. And so we have 18 would be our answer. And why would that be reasonable? Well, like 3/5 is more than half the questions. Half of the 30 questions would be 15. So 18 is a little bit more than half. So our answer is reasonable. And the final two questions. Greta drove 288 miles and used 8 gallons of fuel. Greta's car traveled on an average of how many miles per gallon of fuel? So 288 miles and used 8 gallons of fuel. So in order to find out what's the average of how many miles per gallon of fuel, average means you add them and you got to divide them. So you have the total miles used, total miles driven, and how many gallons of fuel did they use? It was 8. So you take the two numbers, so 288, and we're going to divide that by 8 to find out how many miles per gallon. So 8 goes into 28 3 times. 8 times 3 is 24. Subtract below, 28 minus 24 is 4. Bring down the 8s. 8 goes into 48. 6 times, 8 times 6 is 48. Subtract, get 0. So 36 miles per gallon. And the last problem, arrange these fractions from least to greatest. Now, if we look at these fractions, they all have different denominators. So we can change those to have common denominators. Common denominator of 10, 6, and 12. Well, we know it has to end in a 0 because the only multiples of 10, they all end in 0. So let's think of what we can make each of those numbers into. We could first off change them, or just think about them. Instead of changing them, 5/10 is half. So 5/10 is half. 5/6 is more than half, so it's greater than half. And 5/12 is less than half. So if we think about that, now we can put them in order. Less than half. Sorry, I put that one wrong. Yeah, it was less than half. So 5/12 is the smallest fraction. The next fraction would be 5/10 because that is half. And the greatest fraction would be 5/6 because it's greater than half. If you have any questions, feel free to send me an email or put a post in Teams to get extra help.